episodes is called Getting Sauced with Lemme. We've got the honor and privilege of having Mr. Steve Lemme with us. Most of you may know him from his recent comedy series, Tacoma FD, but Ryan and myself, we know him from way back in the Super Trooper that he portrayed Mac back in the day. So this is going to be an epic show. Grab your favorite drink and let's get saucy. So before we get into it, Steve, we appreciate you joining us. It's truly an honor to have you on the show. We thank you so much. Why don't you tell us which bourbon you're sipping on?
Okay. Well, I am sipping on this guy, Kentucky Owl, confiscated. I just poured it. This was one of the ones, like when I started to finally get into higher end bourbons, that was one of the earliest ones. And I have to admit, I picked it because I liked the label. I liked that it said Kentucky Owl on it. It seemed authentic. And, but I was, it was like my bourbon journey was originally not liking bourbon. And then somebody gave me a bullet bourbon and I was like, okay, this is pretty good. And I started to drink bullet bourbon. And then when my palate adjusted to that, I went to Basil Hayden because I liked that label. And I was like, okay, this seems like a higher end thing. And once I started sipping on that for a while, I was like, I actually think I really want to explore bourbons because there's so many. And I went to like the high end cabinet. And Kentucky Owl was one of the ones that I got a bunch based on, this is how I pick my wine too. I'm like, which label looks the best? And
That's nice.
Kentucky Owl was one of them, and it was delicious. And so
it is delicious.
Yeah. And so I've got, I've probably got 3 bottles right now.
Yeah, that's one of our favorite go-to Kentucky Owls. Also, if you haven't yet, I would also recommend Kentucky Owl's got that batch 11 and batch 10 that are out there. Sometimes they're hard to find, but given you're in, you're in LA, I'm guessing, or somewhere
I'm in
in
LA.
that region. Yeah,
I'm in LA. I have a really good high end liquor store. Like there's a few in the area, but all but the one I go to that's actually the closest to me are overpriced. And mine is still probably overpriced in terms of when I met you guys, I was down in Nashville, and a lot of the prices were actually comparable, amazingly.
Okay.
But there are a few, like the higher end ones, that tend to be sort of astronomically priced.
Right.
But my store is actually the best of those, and I have done some comparison shopping.
That's good.
But there's probably like 3 different. They have the confiscated, which of the Kentucky Owl, which for that high end shelf is the lowest, is the most inexpensive bottle, and then there's like a couple of more expensive bottles.
Yeah, they have like that St. Patty's Day edition, and they've got the Takamaki,
the Japanese, the crazy Japanese one.
I haven't gotten into the Japanese bourbons yet because I'm trying to stay loyal,
And then I came across some kind of Mardi Gras edition one.
Yeah. And then there's some other cask, like a wood,
cast finished,
something or other.
But now they're not bourbons if they're not made in Kentucky, right?
Actually, that is not correct.
Well,
so it has to be over 51% corn in the mash bill to make it eligible to be a bourbon.
And it has to be in a charred oak.
Correct. And
single use
charred oak barrel. For it to be...
So it's not...
Go ahead.
No, so it's not like that, like champagne. It's only champagne if it's from Champagne, and it's only,
Now, it's only Kentucky bourbon if it's bottled and distilled in Kentucky and use Kentucky spring water.
Yeah, they're stipulating everything. Because they Smoke Wagon, for instance, it's out of Vegas.
Yep.
And then...
but it's just bourbon. It's not Kentucky bourbon.
Right. So...
Okay. I like Smoke Wagon too. But we talked about the night that we met. And we can talk. I guess we can fill people in on how we met after you guys introduce your bourbons. I don't want to tell you how to do your podcast.
Well, Ryan, why don't you lead into what you're sipping on?
So
so we can.
We gave this a little taste test the other day, but I finally found and secured a bottle of none other than one of the oldest bourbons in the United States, Chicken Cock. Okay. And I picked Chicken Cock for this episode in honor of, for $20, I'll call the dude a chicken fucker. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But I would say it's, I get a lot of caramel apple, graham crackery taste to it. It's pretty smooth. All in all, I'm a big fan.
Okay. Is there, with chicken cock, what are the different levels of bottle that they have?
So you have the regular chicken cock, just the straight bourbon, and then it jumps up to a double oaked.
Mm-hmm.
They have some ryes, which obviously aren't bourbon, and then from there it jumps up into
some of their older.
It jumps into some of their older stuff. They have what they call a 7-year bourbon, but then there's one. Damn it, I can't think of the name. It's named after a famous rooster, and I remember it from a kids movie where the boy turns into a mouse or a duck or something, and damn it, the rooster's name starts with a C. Yeah. The rooster's name starts with a C, and I can't for the life of me think of his fucking name.
Not Foghorn Leghorn. That's a different.
No, it's
famous rooster.
Yeah. He's the most famous rooster.
Right, yeah.
Although, Dan, I hear you're quite a rooster as well.
I can be quite
especially with that mustache of yours. You guys are in the same room, aren't you?
We are, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could tell by the way, Ryan was looking to the right, and then your seats are the same.
Yeah. So I have this bourbon tasting podcast room that I set up here in the house, and I try to make it all matchy with the chairs, so it's cute.
Do you have like a "No Girls Allowed" sign on the door outside?
I thought about a He-Man woman hater sign, like a little spanking alfalfa or something like that. Especially because we've got we have English bulldogs.
Yeah,
slightly different, but
close enough.
I actually had to put mine up so that way he doesn't try to make an appearance in the podcast as he usually tries to do. He's very attention hungry as a dog.
Okay.
But,
okay. What are you drinking?
Oh, me? In honor of Steve's good friend Eric, also known as Rabbit in the Super Trooper movies, I am doing some Rabbit Hole. It's a Cave Hill. It's a Kentucky straight bourbon. The mash bill is it's a good mix. It's mostly corn, so it's a sweeter bourbon. This one is actually a 4-grain small batch, and I like it. It was like a $70 bottle, so for a middle of the road bottle, lower end, it's actually pretty tasty. It's got some honey and orange with a little vanilla finish to its taste, and I'm doing it neat.
I haven't tried that one yet.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. I'd recommend it. Just as like a sipping bourbon, especially for $70. You know what I mean? Can't go wrong for that. $70.
I mean, you can go wrong. I mean,
we've definitely tried.
We determined that with the base Willets at $65. Oh, yeah. You can go way wrong.
Don't ever get Willet. That pot still. It's a fancy.
I wondered about the one like the thin neck and the big base.
Yeah, it's terrible.
That bottle shape reminds me of being 14 years old and masturbating for the first time, where you just like cram your ball, like you just misshape your dick.
Yeah.
You didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
The females that are listening to your podcast won't know what we're talking about, and I wonder what the female equivalent of that is. But like, I think a lot of guys know that.
I would
think it's like more smacking the bean than flicking the bean, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. They're squishing the satchel.
Yeah, who knows?
So anyway, a little story about how we met.
Yeah,
we actually ran into you because you were in Nashville promoting some Rhino Dart. Yeah.
Yes.
And we just happened to see you because we were at a Sounds game. I've got season tickets, and so we go fairly regularly. And we happened to just be walking by the bandbox, and there you were hanging out with people and shooting a breeze. And I was like, oh, and I dropped the, I'd like a large farva. And you kind of like pointed, laughed. I was like, yeah, that guy's a dickhead. And then we just kept walking past you. And then I was like, talked to Ryan, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that is Steve Lemme. We should maybe go see if like he wants to talk and bullshit. And then there you were, and you were so very inviting and invited us into the VIP section that you guys.
I am very inviting, aren't I, guys?
Yes, you are.
You are
Yes, you
a
are.
very inviting man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And it was raining too when we met, so like we were all kind of huddled under our area there. So Rhino Dart is a ready to drink cocktail that one of my best lifelong friends in the world created. Like back when we were, I've known him since we were in high school together, but then in college and after college, like he used to whip up these things called Rhino Darts.
Right.
Towards the end of the night when he was like, you know what this calls for? We need some Rhino Darts. And it would always pick us back up and also finish us off.
Yeah.
And then probably about 3 years ago, he and I were talking about it. We're like, there are all these ready to drink cocktails coming out. We're like, well, why don't we just try this? Like get into this business. If all these people can do it, we can do it too. And so, we started down the road, and it took a while, but we finally released it. Like we got, the manufacturer, the canner, the distributor. We did the different formulas, trying to get it just right. That was a cocktail he used to, pour over ice.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, well, this is going to be out of a can, so it has to be, taste good. We wanted all natural ingredients, which it has. We added some bubbles to it. Because that actually we found out of the can. It actually, I'm not a bubbles guy, but with this thing, it actually felt better to have bubbles in it out of the can.
Okay.
And it somehow felt a little flat without it. But then, we finally
first dated in high school, a little flat.
Yes, correct. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Like that joke. Yes, thank you, Dan. No, just kidding. And so he and his wife, they live in Nashville, and our two other partners are from Nashville. I'm the only one who's not from Nashville, and so
you got to move here, man. You got to move here.
I love it. I love Nashville. I love
it's
Nashville.
Great time. And your dollar goes farther than LA, so
like probably 500% farther.
Yeah.
Maybe more. Yeah.
The cost of gas is less. The cost of bread is less. The cost of bourbon is less.
Yeah, there was never COVID. There was never COVID there.
It was here short, brief.
Yeah, it was short-lived for sure.
Very, very brief.
Yeah, it was short-lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good that you guys were able to get this thing canned. It is delicious, by the way.
So right now it's only available in Nashville and the surrounding area?
It's only available in Nashville. We're distributed by a company called Bounty Beverage. And so we were there because we got the Rhino Dart into the bandbox, bandbox Nashville Sound Stadium. And hopefully next season, the entire stadium will be carrying it. But so they allowed us to be there for 3 nights, and we did, we hosted some firefighters, some Nashville firefighters, got free tickets. And some of them didn't even come over to hang out with us. Like we gave them the ticket. They had nice tickets on the other side of the stadium from the bandbox. And then I would actually go over to their seats and be like, hey guys, we did give you these tickets. Want to come? Say hi. But I just want to say hi to them. And some of them would be like, oh, hey, hi. Well, to be fair, it was it went out to their website. So it was
right. Yeah.
It said Steve Lemme from Tacoma FD and Rhino Dart invite you to this thing. And I would say a third of them were actually fans of the show and knew who I was. And the other 2/3 were they just saw free tickets. So it was always an adventure to go over there and introduce myself, because some of them would be like, who the fuck are you? And others would be like, hey, what's up? And they would come over. But so, we did 3 nights.
Did you do break dancing?
No, but I would have obliged, I can still, this is how my hand flows across.
You're just
You know,
gonna do the work. You're not gonna actually bust out a piece of like cardboard and go ham and fucking do some twists and turns and little
I
hands,
mean,
heads and stuff.
here's the thing. So this is like the whole thing I was telling you about earlier was that like my house, my house flooded, uh,
Mm,
probably like really right like before I came down to Nashville.
yeah.
And so like the way you kind of you might be able to see there's stairs down here
Hmm.
into this like I'm kind of in like a living room here. So like when you walk in the house, there's this little platform,
Yeah.
and the stairs go down on the right, the left, and in front. And a few weeks ago, I came down at like 5:30 in the morning, and I took the steps down towards my office and stepped into 3 inches of water and just wiped out. Slammed on. I
Oh,
was lucky I didn't hit my head, but I was moving kind of fast, and then I could see that my office was flooded, and the whole side of the house was flooded. I went in the bathroom, and the toilet was overflowing. The main plumbing line had gotten clogged.
oh
And
no.
so like yeah, and the bathtub was full. And so like I don't even know why, but I plunged it, and that actually stopped it from
Uh-huh.
happening. But like basically it took 16 hours to like we got my wife and I had to wake her up. I was like, our house is flooded. And she's like, what? And she came down like we probably took us 3 or 4 hours to get all the water out.
Yeah.
And then like it was black water. It's sewage.
Oh no. So you got a hanky Christmas poo floating around in the little space there.
Yeah, that's what I fell in. And
Oh no.
Shitter's full, guys. Shitter's full.
Oh, that's
yeah,
awful.
and so
So
and
wait a minute.
so
You fell in that and you went up to wake your wife after falling in black water?
well, there is more to it than that, but like I don't want to get too disgusting.
Right. That's all
This
I
is
can picture is you going up there and you're covered in this
He
shit
got
yeah,
water.
the food on him. He
And
got
your
the
wife's
food
like,
yes.
on him.
"What is that smell?" Oh, that's me because
Well,
our house is flooded.
but yes, the answer is yes because the house was flooded with this water,
Gross.
and it's 5:30 in the morning. It's a fucking problem.
Yeah,
And
really.
I tried to like my office has doors that open to the outside, and so it was like
Mm.
I started open. I started trying to do it on my own, and it's like you start to realize at that moment in time that your floors aren't level. In fact, they're actually tilted back into your house, and so like the water just keeps going back in, and
Oh,
like, but it was to my office. It was in two bathrooms. Like this is a large section of the downstairs. It was going to the
right.
laundromat and down into the garage, and so yeah, I went up there, and I was like, we got a problem. Our downstairs is flooded. And like she comes down and it's like we're like in fucking full on emergency mode now. And like
Yeah.
it took us 3 hours to get the water out. Then we had to get all like we had to move the furniture out. That's fucking soaked in shit. And like uh all this like the rugs out, like they're destroyed, like the whole fucking thing. And then like when we finally had a moment like to settle down, she's like, holy shit, the coat closet. And we're
Oh
like, there's a closet that was closed. We didn't even think about it. And we go and open it. And it's like that had the water in it. And it's like, and that's where all our like luggage was and the kids' sports equipment.
no.
Anyway,
That's a real shitty
they,
situation there, Steve.
thank you very much, dude. You're piling them up now. And uh, but yeah, there are two rooms in there. There's a bedroom and my office with hardwood floors. Those warped
Oh no.
immediately. And then like the next day, like there were baseboards along the walls. Those warped. Like you could actually hear them. If you sat in my office or stood in my office, every like 2 minutes you hear like a duck, which was hardwood snapping off the wall, like pulling off the wall.
Oh wow.
And
See, that
then
just
anyway,
tells me it's not hardwood. Because if it's good and hard, then it doesn't bow.
listen. My point in saying all this is this is my issue. I have not been in a good mood for 2 months, and so it's funny because speaking of cardboard boxes, so like all my cardboard boxes, well, they're
Oh
all in the
god.
garage, but the ones I have here are my nice high end bourbons,
Oh, they're perfectly right in reach.
Right, he knew exactly what to go ahead and say first.
Yeah, it's priorities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Priorities.
Well, I wasn't going to leave them in the hot garage in the summertime in Los Angeles. I had to bring them in.
No.
No. Yeah, you would have been
So
very disappointed with the flavor after that.
since I just got a glimpse of your nice high-end collection, do you have any of the bottles that you keep longer than 6 months, or do you go through them pretty regularly?
It really depends. Like now that I've opened this Kentucky Owl,
Mm-hmm.
it'll probably be gone in like 2 weeks.
Right.
It's good. It's really
maybe
good.
less. There are some like I've got my, like I've got the old school like Yellowstone 101.
Yeah. Nice.
Which I just love. I've got like 5 of these.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to open them.
Yeah.
Because once I do, I will go through them, and like they're hard to get out here.
Yeah.
And I just love them.
If we start seeing them here, we'll collect them. So that next time you're out in Nashville, we'll have a little care package.
So like.
Oh,
that's actually pretty good.
We had that one yesterday. Yeah. That's tasty.
So out here, it's like a $300 bottle.
Yeah,
that's actually about the same out here when you find it.
Yeah,
and it's fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So do you rotate and wet your corks?
No,
he doesn't like to get his cork wet. Okay.
No, I do.
He likes a dry cork.
I just don't like to rotate it so much.
He's not a cork soaker.
Because the reason I ask is because they recommend every 6 months to a year, if you're just keeping a bottle, to turn it upside down for about an hour to 2 hours at a time, just so it re-soaks the cork. If not, the cork will just deteriorate into the bottle, and then you have nothing.
Almost like wine, where you're supposed to rotate the wine if it's sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah.
I figured I would at least give you one piece of knowledge today.
No, that's good to know, because like there are some, because what happens is, like, for instance, Blanton's, it's like, I mean, all of these like that I've pulled out, like every like few weeks, I'll just go by the store to see what they've got. And then like, it's like Yellowstone 101, it's like once a year and it's like 4 bottles. And so then like, I'll grab one, but then like what happens is, like, some of these, like, I mean, that bottle I just pulled out, I've had probably for like 5 years. I should probably rotate it, right?
Yeah,
maybe.
Might be a good thing.
Maybe I'll just open it and chug it. Fuck it.
Well, so it's not so much that the bourbon goes bad per se, but over time it can, because you deteriorate the cork, and then the cork doesn't keep it in anymore, really. So it just allows the aroma to seep out, and then you kind of get a flat bourbon.
Speaking of chugging, how did you guys come up with that scene in Super Troopers where you make the rookie race? Was it Thorny?
Yeah,
and
Thorny with
Thorny and Rabbit were chugging the syrup. How did you guys decide to include a scene like that? Like, how did that discussion happen? You know what I mean? Like, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it's like, it's funny because, I mean, back when we did that, we were in our like 20s. I mean, when we wrote it, we were like 22, or when we started writing it. And it was like we had made a movie called Puddle Cruiser, and then, that movie came about, like, the movie itself, just from like, we were, you're like in your 20s, and all of a sudden one of your friends gets married, and you're at that age where, and all of a sudden they all start getting married, and you're like, holy fucking shit. Like, there's that period of time where, like, you're getting all these invitations. You're like, I've got 4 weddings to go to this summer.
Yeah.
And so we were Broken Lizard. Like, we were always together because we were at age, 21, 22, we'd started performing in New York City. And, we were doing these sketch comedy shows. So we were writing every night and hanging out all the time. And so we would road trip together. Like, oh, you going to, fucking Schmaltzy's wedding? Yeah, let's, should we drive together? Yeah. And, what would happen is, like, we'd be, we'd be stoned in the car. And and we would always get pulled over. And like, I mean, the driver would never be. That was
Yeah,
the one rule. But like,
that's a good rule. That's a good rule.
yeah, we would get pulled over, and like we'd be laughing, and then like the cop would come to the window, and we'd all be like such fucking pussies. It'd be like, you'd be looking, and how are you boys doing today? We're like, very well, sir, and you? Like, I'm good. And then like, do you know how fast you're going? No, sir. And like, we were such fucking polite pussies. And then he'd
Right.
finally walk away, and we were like, we should have fucking murdered that guy, and like, and we were like, God, if those guys knew how stoned we were and how terrified we were, they could fuck with us so bad. And
Yeah.
that was like, and then like that one I remember led to like one day, we're driving and we were laughing about like, what would you do if you get in the hypotheticals? And we're like, what would you do if you saw a dude like fucking a bear on the side of the road?
Right.
And we're like, would you stop and take pictures? Would you report it? Would you like just pull over and watch?
Right.
Like what would you do? Like, would you report it? Like, and then like,
Yeah.
kind of like, well, if you were a cop and you got that as a call, like, what do you do? Do you like, you don't want to interrupt them? Like, what will the bear
Right.
get me? Like, you don't know what's going
Let
on.
him
Do you
finish,
Yeah, you have to assess the situation. It's like, look, you guys are military guys. What would you do if you saw somebody fucking a bear? Like,
I'd take pictures for sure. In today's society, everything has to be video or pictures, otherwise it never happen, right? So, first of all, definitely going to take pictures, and then I'm going to probably get a little closer and ask him, why a bear?
You
You
know,
know,
right?
like
And he
why?
would tell you.
Yeah.
I would be different on that. I would be 100% different. Have you ever been interrupted during sex?
Plenty of
Either of you?
times.
Yeah,
Plenty of
and
times.
and what happens? You get a little pissy about it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Can you
I get
imagine a grizzly bear pissed off because you interrupted its nut? No, thank you. You
Well,
have a nice day.
But
what?
you know what?
Maybe it's yeah.
But you know what's really nice is when you get interrupted, when you get back to it.
True.
Right.
That's
True.
like you finally shut the door and you're like, now then. Like,
Right.
hopefully you've got a fucking sweet line. Like, like James Bond would be like, where were we? I mean, that's the fucking dumbest way to do it. But like,
Right.
you got to have a line to get back into it.
Well,
Yeah,
when
just
you're
turn around
sporting
and
a
be like,
mustache, you could be like, "Are you ready for the ride again?"
I prefer assume the position.
Yeah.
Or reassume
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Reassume.
or assume the reposition.
I mean, I guess if you're a
So-
video gamer, then you just hit the reset button.
Yeah. So most of your inspirations were from just what if conversations you guys were having. Basically, is what I'm picking up.
Right. But so then the maple syrup then
Yeah.
specifically was like, because I remember then we like, after we started to think about that, like, what if we came up with the idea, what if we were highway patrolman on the most deserted stretch of highway in the country? Because then we went up to a friend of ours had a house right on the border of Vermont and Canada, like literally right on the fucking border, like 5 minutes. And there was one time in the winter time we were there where like we were like driving through the snow and like the car just skidded and went off the road, and we're like, fuck it. We were like 2 minutes from the house. We just got out and walked, and my friend who lived there was like, yeah, we'll get it tomorrow. And like, and a cop showed up at his house in the morning, was like, your car's in the snowbank. They're like, yeah, we drove it off the road. We're gonna come. But this was Vermont for you. And it was,
Right.
and even the cop was like, you had a little too much drink. We're like, yeah, but like didn't fucking care. And it was like just kind of, and it was like, and knew everybody, like knew the car and knew which house to come to. And it was like this different type of law enforcement than you hear about. This was like,
Right.
and we were like, God, that's so fucking cool. Like, it's so interesting to us. And then I remember we thought of the name. I didn't specifically. I remember like, I can't remember which guys it was, but they were like, they liked the names Thorny and Rabbit just as character names.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Thorny. That's a cool name. And like, what is Rabbit was a guy. And like, literally it's like, and then I think Mac was the next name. Like, and then a guy named Mac. And that might have been there might be a character. No, that's not true. But then like Farva, like it was Brett Favre who was the inspiration for that. It was like
Okay.
Farva, and we were like, it sounded like larva, and we are like, what a gross name, Rod Farva. That's perfect for that guy. Like the dumb guy who everybody has in their office
Right.
place. Fucking obnoxious guy.
Yeah.
But and then we just started riffing about like, what do these guys do for fun? And we're like, what, like, do they, and we're talking about Vermont. And it's like, do they just sit around and like have like maple syrup chugging contests? And literally it's like, you might have like 20 ideas of things
Yeah.
that you're just like, and you're basically like making fun of Vermont for a
Right.
moment in time. You're like, what would they do? What do you do up there? Like, they eat like fucking moose turds? Like, oh, okay, not that one. We can't do that one. Like, chug maple syrup. That's kind of funny idea, And
Yeah.
and
No, I actually take pictures of moose knuckles for fun up there.
well, listen. I wish we had been working with you when we wrote Super Troopers 1. So yeah, I mean, it's like it's funny because it's like we get asked that question like, how do you come up with this stuff? And it's like, it's like, how do you form words? You don't know, but like while you're hanging out with your buddies, first we have the luxury too of like we'll be hanging out working,
Mm-hmm.
and then especially when we were in our 20s, you're like, all right, we're done working. You get a phone call, hey, we're all hanging out at fucking the Blarney Stone. All right, let's go.
Yeah.
And then you go out, and then you're hanging out, partying, and who the fuck knows where the inspiration comes from? But you start laughing about random bullshit, and at some point somebody's like, that would actually be funny for that
Right.
pullover scene if we did that.
Yeah.
Can you and then it's like you start to, riff on it. It's like, and it becomes a full time thing.
Oh, that's cool. So it's an organic thing. It's that you guys, because you guys have been so close for so long, you guys just kind of thrive off each other, and you feed off each other's ideas. Is basically what I'm kind of picking up.
Yeah, and it's like I would say like, it's nice because like, as we've gotten older, like what happens then is like you get all these fucking raw ideas out there, and then you have
Mhm.
to actually work and put it into a story, and that's where like the creative disagreements can happen because it's like, and no one's ever really right or really wrong, but like
Yeah.
it just becomes work, and then like because you have to actually put something together, and then it's like, okay, well, this is gonna be forever. And if two people have a difference of opinion, then it can become a really big deal, because it's like, especially when you have five confident guys who are have strong opinions, and it's like
Yeah.
it can sometimes boil down to, well, I know it's funny, and the other guys are like, well, I know it's not, and so like, and then you're all of a sudden you're arguing about, you just want to win the point. You
Yeah.
don't, you're not thinking about, is it actually good or not for the thing, and it's like that's how I think how groups break up. It's because they
Hmm.
don't evolve enough to realize that like, okay, let's, if we want to keep doing this together, we got to figure out how to get through this shit, and it's like, and then, ultimately what happens is it's when the movie's finally finished and we get to go on, the publicity,
Yeah. The tours.
the junket, and hang out with each other again socially and just be friends and like, and just have laughs and then show
Mhm.
it to people. Then you're like, oh, that's the great, that's the real reward.
Speaking of tours, I heard you pissed off all of Australia on one of your tours. Uh, do you remember that, and what happened that you pretty much pissed off everybody in Australia?
Hmm. Not all of Australia, just one
Oh,
city.
just one city.
Um,
Okay. All right. So it's an exaggerated
Yeah.
thing. All right.
well, we were there to promote our movie Super Troopers, and it was funny because we weren't famous, and it was our first movie, and so like the studio was having us go around in our cop uniforms, and like, but like it's different in Australia because like here
Well,
it's
yeah,
like,
we're a penal colony.
Yeah.
yeah, but like they had said, I remember we went to like a the opening of a tire store. That's not even a fucking exaggeration. Like they sent us to the opening of a tire store
Mm.
in which I guess was like a big opening, but they sent us, or maybe it was they were the only place that would have us, but like they sent us in our cop uniforms, and they sent us to a mall in our cop uniforms, and our job was to be like, hey, we're from America, and we have a movie coming out here. We're called Super Troopers, where we play cops, and that's a fucking tough hill to climb right off the bat.
Yeah. Really.
Um, but so they sent us to a beer festival, in plain clothes. So we didn't even have the benefit of our cop uniforms. And what they wanted us to do was go on stage and say, hey, we're from America and we have a movie coming out and just wanted to invite all you guys to see it. And we were like, well, that's a stupid idea.
That sounds boring.
We were like, well, let's go up and make it interesting. And it was a beer festival. And so we went up there and we're like, hey, we're from America. We have a movie coming out called Super Troopers, but we want to challenge you guys to a line chug, boat race. And people started yelling stuff at us. And I said, well, so we got a bachelor party to come up on stage. And we did a boat race, which was, we were all holding two cups. And it's like you chug one and go down the line. Each guy chugs one. The anchor man chugs them both, and then you come back down.
Right, yeah.
And so
who's your anchor man for that?
Heffernan.
Oh, nice. Kevin's the fucking anchor, huh? So he can chug them like real well.
Oh yeah. So Jay's really good too. And so Jay went first.
Uh-huh. So that's real. Like you guys were really chugging in that movie too? Or was that just
at times? A lot of the time.
Okay. Anyway,
but it's also like in Beer Fest, and we can talk about that specifically, but in Beer Fest, you're like, it's Monday morning at 6 a.m. We're shooting. I'm
yeah,
upside down doing a monkey chug, hanging, by my knees, upside down from a pole, chugging in the roof of my mouth, and it's the fifth take. And it's like, all right, can we just go digital on this one? But like,
you're like, I'm going to throw up if we do this again.
Oh, we literally, it's like, we would have guys, when the seal is broken.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time it's like, they're like cut. And then you like look at the take and you come back, you make some adjustment, you go and do it again. But like, there were times literally, it's like once the seal broke, I mean, it was us and the German team. We're like, we would all be in the bathroom after every take, like, holy, and like pounding the urinal with piss. We're like, Jesus fucking Christ, this is hysterical though, because it's like, it's that life imitating art, imitating life. Like we're literally in there, and we're chugging. It would be fake beer, like the non-alcoholic beer.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end of it, towards the end of every day, when people are like, all right, we know we're on our last scene, and we've only got like an hour or two left. Let's all start drinking for real. And then it's like, and we're just laughing about how ludicrous this thing, and all we're getting paid, and like, it's like,
that's the best.
Anyways, in Australia, I said something like Crocodile Dundee sucks kangaroo dick, or something like that. And people started to get fucking pissed off about that. And from the state, well, because by the way, they beat us. And so like,
so insult to injury. Now you're just throwing barbs at them.
Well, because what happened was that like, they're being fucking dicks right off the bat when we got up on stage. That like they were shouting shit at us. And that's when I said that Crocodile Dundee such kangaroo dicks. And then, and so then this bachelor party came up, and like 4 of us are good chuggers. One guy is not. And the crazy thing is he doesn't know that he isn't. So he still can't, actually tell the story in his presence, because he gets upset and like doesn't know why we're blaming it on him. But like, so Jay went first.
Mm-hmm.
Then one of the guys in question, there's number 2 and 3 are these other guys, and I was 4th, and then Heffernan.
Mm-hmm.
And so Jay got off to a great start, and then our weak man
stole. Anyway, we don't.
He's trying to play the guessing game.
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Anyway, what happened? So we did this thing, and everyone's there chanting like Oz, 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 which is what they call Australia. And then we were like, it's somehow with this bachelor party, it was like, all right, let's do a fucking arm wrestling competitions. And all of a sudden now we're fucking doing arm wrestling. And then that like it just.
Yeah.
But then I think I said something about Russell Crowe.
So you have 2 boys, yeah?
Got 2 boys. He's the younger of the 2.
Oh man, what a handful.
I mean, but in the best way, because I understand them. So like,
right.
Like I was scared before, each of them was born that I was going to have a girl because I it's like I just
I don't know what to do with my hands. What do I do with the girl?
I mean, it's like the boy poops and you clean his diaper and it's like his butt and then some is probably going to get in his balls and like in the crevices and you just like fucking deal with it. But like with the girl, as I was hearing, it was like, it's indoor plumbing versus outdoor plumbing. And so it's like,
right.
not interested in the indoor plumbing, and, but yeah, but it's also like, it's, if I had two girls, it would be incredible and I would love them.
I'm sure.
Because it's two boys. It's like, I remember when I took them to their first baseball game, they were probably like, fuck, 2 and 4, 3 and 5. And I remember going to the game. It was a Yankees Angels game here in California. And at that moment, it dawns on you. You're like, holy shit. This is my kids. This is our first baseball game together.
Yeah.
And it's this thing I can relate to. So it's like, that's all. And like, like so yesterday.
Are they big Yankee fans now too?
Or yeah, they're Yankees fans. No, if any, I can't remember if they like Angels or Dodgers. They know that if they want to like a local team, that's I won't take that away from them because
what if they wanted to be Boston Red Sox fans?
Don't even fucking say the words Boston and Red and Sox.
So they would maybe be ushered out of the house at that point. Say they're 18 years old and one of them comes to you and says, "Hey, Dad, by the way, Pedro Martinez is my hero." How would that resonate in your household?
I would like this podcast to make it to the end.
Never gonna happen. It's never gonna happen.
So Mets out as well. The Mets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a Yankees fan. That's good.
My first baseball game was a Yankees game, and I remember
the old Yankee Stadium, obviously.
The old Yankee Stadium. I'm 54 years old, and it was a Yankees Tigers game. I'm going to say 1977, and it was a guy named Mark Fidrich, the Bird, was pitching for the Tigers, Cy Young winner, and he was insane. Do you guys know who that is? Mark Fidrich. You guys are much younger than him. But he was a guy who used to talk. He's a pitcher. He won the Cy Young.
Yeah.
He used to talk to the baseball. And they were like, he made headlines because they were like, this pitcher's crazy, but he's fucking excellent. And it was my mom who was like, I hear there's this crazy pitcher. He's coming to town. Let's go to the game. And we got tickets and we got to see. That was my friend. That was my first baseball game. It was like, and we were in the upper deck. And that was like Willie Randolph and Lou Piniella and Mickey River. Anyway, great team. But
yeah, great lineup. Good.
I would like to know where the beer fest idea came from.
Well, everybody likes to drink beer, right?
But like the whole story, right?
Oh, yeah.
You had the German ancestry and
the Eye of the Jew, which is also hilarious because they're going against the Germans.
The hooker and all that stuff.
So that's also, I mean, that's a two-part. That's like part of it came from that moment in Australia.
Okay, I was wondering if there was some tie there.
Yeah, there was, because we were like, there's a real fucking bone of contention there where you're like, we're telling these people we're gonna chugging it, because then we started to, because we all knew that one of the guys, we all like, we put Jay up front and he fucking destroyed his first guy, and we strategized. We were like, we knew Stoll. God, it's like I'm giving it away. We knew Stoll. No, we knew Stolhansky was a good chugger. We knew it was
Yeah.
The other lizard.
Yeah, the other one, the other guy.
We were like, he's the one we're not sure about, and we've kind of seen that he's not. But he was like he's the one who wasn't in our fraternity, and so like we grew up like at age 18, we're just chugging against each other and racing, and so we put him second after Jay. We're like, Jay will go first and get us off to a good start. Yep. This unnamed broken lizard will go second, and whatever damage gets done then, if any, then Stolhansky will go, and he's a great chugger. Then I will go, and I'm a great chugger. And then Queen will go, and he's the best chugger, and he'll go back to back. And then we'll come down the line, and it's like, if we're behind, then if we're behind at that point, we're we won't be. And but we're like, well, at least we'll make up the ground. We'll get ahead, and then Jay can close us off and close us out. And so, but like, it was I have a picture where it's like, so Jay beats the guy, and then our second guy goes, and their second guy goes and bypasses him, and their third guy goes and bypasses him, and he hasn't even finished chugging. And it's like, and
Oh
like
my
Jay's got his hands on his head, and we're like, oh, and then it's like we got killed.
Yeah.
But we finished it, and then it was like, Jesus fucking Christ. But the conversation that we're like, how about let's do individual chugs?
Yeah.
And we won. The four of us won all of those. But then literally it was like the argument about who was better at drinking, Americans or Australians, was so fucking verbally violent that it was like, this is such a great thing. Because, and even when we made the movie Beer Fest, like online, it was like, you think you know troll culture online. You don't until you make a movie about which country has the best beer drinkers. And then it's like, you got German people who are like, bullshit. And the British people are chiming in, fuck you guys. And then Russians are like, why don't you drink something fucking strong, like vodka? And then like, and Polish people, everyone's coming in, and it's like, whoa. So,
and you got to tell them, hey, you got to go out in the foothills of Kentucky and chug some
White Lightning.
White Lightning, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's just some of that. Everclear or whatever the other. Oh my gosh.
We should make Moonshine Fest.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah. That'd be a good sequel to Beer Fest. That'd be funny.
Well, Pot Fest will be the sequel to Beer Fest. And then Coke Fest will be the sequel to Pod Fest. And then Fuck Fest will be the fourth installment. And then we'll be done.
I like the sarcasm. That's good.
We'll be like, no, I'm totally serious.
Oh, you are serious?
Yeah.
That'd be fucking hilarious.
So, can you tell us? Are you gonna have Willie in Pot Fest? Because he ended Beer Fest.
Oh,
and he needed partners for his team.
Yeah, Willie Nelson. That'd be good.
We got to get it going. He's 90.
Yeah. Y'all got to kick it into gear.
Speaking of movie releases, Quazi. We recently both watched that. I thought it was fucking hilarious. I'm pretty sure Ryan thought it was hilarious.
I actually kind of related to it when he started having relations with his cousin.
Oh, because you relate. Yeah, that part. Yeah,
that makes sense.
You're from Kentucky.
That's a Southern thing. That's why we do so well in the South. All the Southerners are like, I get that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that tracks. That dog hunts. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on board.
How did you
this
guys
movie just got good?
That movie?
Yeah, right.
For Quazi,
I wasn't following all the ancient France stuff, but now it's relatable. Go.
So when you guys were doing your brainstorm sessions, was this one of those things where like, hey, it'd be funny as if we have Steve look like fucking Quasimodo and have him fucking hook up with this hot ass girl? Like how did that storyline come about? Because it's obviously a twist on the real Quasimodo story and everything else, and the Hunchback of Notre Dame or whatever. But
yeah, well, we wrote that at the same time, believe it or not, that we wrote Super Troopers. So after that, we were like, all right, we've got some time on our hands here because we need to figure out what movie we want to do next. Because we didn't sell Puddle Cruiser. And so, but we had started to work on 3 different movies. And it was, we're going to do a low budget movie, which is Super Troopers. And then we're going to do a middle budget movie, which was Quazi. And then we're going to do a bigger budget movie, which was something about ancient Greece. And so we started writing all 3 of these scripts at the same time. And that one, so Quazi was, and none of us ever like to take credit for anything. And I certainly don't take credit for the idea, but the character was that, like, at age 21, my first job out of college, I was working at a record store. And there was a dude that worked there. And you can actually see him. He's in a kind of famous rock and roll documentary, but he was, his name was Chip. And he was the head of, or a member of the jazz and blues department at this record store that I worked at. And I was in the rock and roll department. And this guy, like, we'd be in the break room, and he was a guy who spoke out of the side of his mouth, and he would corner me kind of and be like, and he was a little older, and he was, you know, not like a socially popular kind of guy, and he'd be like, here's the thing, Steve, the saxophone is the loneliest instrument on the planet, and sometimes I like to just sit in the windowsill on a hot, sweaty night and just play the saxophone by myself. Just, thinking about a woman who probably doesn't exist, at least for me, and I just play the blues, and like I'd go back to the Broken Lizard guys. I'd be like, "Holy fucking shit! You won't believe what this guy said to me today."
Yeah.
And like, and other times I go in there and he'd be like, "Listen." I'd go in there to talk to him. He'd like, listen to that beat. So I'm talking about, you have the hi-hat, you got the hi-hat, the hi-hat, and like this guy was just such a fucking character. You can see him. So there's a movie called Beware of Mr. Baker, which is it's a documentary about Ginger Baker, who was the drummer for a band called Cream, and maybe even Blind Faith. But definitely, it was Ginger Baker, Jack Bruce, and Eric Clapton and Cream. There's a documentary about him, and he was out of his fucking mind. And all of a sudden, watching the documentary, and this guy Chip Stern shows up in the documentary, and he's like, "Yeah, Ginger Baker, man, he would really wail on the skins." And I was like, "Holy fucking shit, there's the guy right there." And he's like, he was interviewed 3 different times in the thing, so you can actually go see the inspiration for that character. But that character, then we were like, God, what a fucking funny persona that is, that character. And with that character, then we all kind of riffed into the idea of making him like, we were like, how do we, like, what's the lowest person we can think of that's funny? We were like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, like, we're like, and because he's a fucking virgin too, by the way. So like, we're just piling onto this guy. But so that's how we came up with that idea.
That's pretty damn funny. How do you guys come up with who plays which role? Like, is that like a rock, paper, scissors, cock thing? Like, how do you guys do that?
Rock, paper, scissors, and what's the last word?
Cock. Rock, paper, scissors, cock.
Rock, paper, scissors, cock.
Yeah.
Well, cock, paper, scissors would be a good fucking game too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because the paper would cut the cock. The scissors would too. Basically.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. Paper cut on it. Oh. Yeah. Especially like right across the pee hole. Oh my God. Yeah. Everybody's cringing now at home.
No,
They're gonna
thanks.
be like, what?
Or right across the seam of the scrotum. Like,
yeah. You know what I mean?
By the way, do you have any girls who listen to this podcast?
Yeah, there's a few, but they think we're ridiculous anyway, so they kind of know what to expect, which is the best part. So we're here to entertain. That's what our thing is, to provide entertainment. As you know, you're in the entertainment industry, so
and you provide a service.
Yeah, we're providing a service. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for your service.
Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. The one thing I think I liked about
Ryan, thank you for your cervix, Ryan. Thank you. Go on.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You can use them anytime.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the one thing I liked about Quazi, though.
How many do you have?
What?
I said thank you for your cervix. How many? And then you said you can use them anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said use. That's like plural.
Yeah.
Use them. You said use them.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Is, how many? That's
how
why
many do you have?
I've got a closet full. What size you want? Diameter, length, depth, you name it. We'll find it.
Oh man.
Cheers.
Next time you're in Nashville, we know where to send you.
I know. The cervix center.
Yeah.
Right. So what I liked about Quazi is seeing you all. It was you each had dual roles. And then each of you had like a minor role and then I guess a major role. And then they all kind of intertwined. So I thought that was pretty neat to see that done that way.
That was pretty funny to me. That I'm guessing the reason for that is budgetary constraints is why you guys did that. Or was it just because you guys thought it would be fucking hilarious?
No, not at all. I mean, that was sort of our homage to Monty Python.
That's what I thought.
That's what, okay.
Yeah,
we both
that was
like,
Yeah, no, I mean, Monty Python is like,
Oh, dude,
Good
that's the
God.
Greg.
I mean, when I remember seeing that fucking bunny rabbit fly out of that cave and take that guy's jugular out and
It's
dying,
just a butt. Yeah.
dying of laughter.
Yeah.
I was a kid, and the fucking knight getting his arms and legs chopped off. I was like,
It's only
you
a
know,
flesh wound.
it's just a flesh. I'll come back and I'll bite you to death.
I'll bite your ankles.
Yeah. And then, like, when I was older, I saw, like, I saw the meaning of life, and then, but it wasn't until like my 20s that I saw Life of Brian,
Yep.
and was like, not only is it funny, but it's fucking smart as
Yeah.
shit, and there's history in there, and it was like, and that was the thing, like, with Broken Lizard, like, we went to college together, and it was like sometimes we were like, God, that shit's smart. Like, it's not just like it's dumb, but it's smart, which is how we came up with it wasn't that we came up with a motto, but we were like, we make dumb jokes for smart people and smart jokes for dumb people,
Yeah.
and it was like, that was sort of the approach to it. Like, we're not going to try to do anything except make each other laugh. And, it's like you do these, sometimes it's those fucking dumb little jokes. Like right now with my kids,
Yeah.
we got,
Right.
they just paved, like in the neighborhood, like they're shutting down different streets and they're putting fresh oil on the streets. And I was like, I just turned around to my kids. We were driving to school one day, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? These streets could use fresh oil." And literally for the last like week, I did it today. I was like, "Do you know why the streets outside look so beautiful?" And my younger son, the one who was just here, he was like, "Fresh oil." And I was like, "Yes, fresh oil." And so it's like there's those dumb things, but then it's like there's times where like you get just incredibly intelligent jokes that you're like, oh my fucking God, like,
Yeah.
and you're like, there are layers to this joke. And you're even realizing it while you're riffing on it. You're like, holy fucking shit, it's better than we think it is. And like,
Yeah.
that's what we try to do.
With that movie, I do love that you embellish the power of the church and the king, and how they're always thriving, fighting for, vying for power, and then they're that one scene with Jay as the king, and he's like, I'll just kill the kids too, it's like so absurd, but it probably would have been a truth back then too, where they're
Kidding, just kidding.
yeah, like
just
fuck
kidding.
it, just kill them all, fuck it.
Yeah, that is probably the way it was back then.
Yeah.
I do kind of feel like your jester character had it worse than Quazi ever dreamed of having it.
Oh yeah, a lot of ridicule. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, he's in a terrible position.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's got the worst job of all. Like,
Terrible.
the best
position.
job of all is to be as far away from the king as you can possibly be.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would imagine that's truth, especially back then. Being a stable hand or something, I think would probably be the safest bet.
Dude, just in the countryside, just shovel
Just
some
like-
hay.
Yeah, shoveling horse shit and hay. Fuck it,
That's
like
fine.
that would be the life. Yeah,
That's fine.
and
It's
every
kinda
once in a while,
What's
every once
that?
in a while, every once in a while, you get a fair maiden that strolls in your stable, and might show her how the hayfield gets
That's fine.
taken care of.
That's
I
fine.
mean, prostitution was legal then.
I mean, it's still legal now. It just
Not
depends
here.
on. Yeah, not
in
in
the US.
Kentucky or
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Not in the U.S.
Yes, it is.
Vegas is Vegas.
Just saying, there's some places.
Yeah.
Speaking of prostitution, you ever been to Amsterdam?
I have.
It's lovely. I was trying to explain because I don't think you've ever been.
I have not.
So I was trying to explain to him because I've been, and it's segregated in the red light district. And it's kind of funny because it's like when you go down shopping aisles, and you have like the good stuff is on the outside,
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
and the grocery stores, and all the shitty stuff is stuffed in the aisles in between. It was kind of the same way in the red light district. Like all the good looking broads were out there for you to see like right away. And then the the cheaper, not so good looking broads were kind of tucked away back in like a dark alley somewhere, kind of like
Right.
Quasimodo, you know?
Right. And that's where you found yourself, isn't it, Dan?
That is where I could find where I could afford things. Yeah. I was a poor, I was a poor military member back then, and I didn't have much cash in my name, so we did dabble in the dark alleys, but yeah.
The thing about Amsterdam, which I really enjoyed when I went there, was that I thought it was all about legal weed. I went there when it was, still totally illegal here, and
Yep.
the red light district, and I was delighted to discover that the city itself is fucking beautiful. Like, I took that boat tour of the canals.
Yep.
And it was like, I mean, it's goddamn gorgeous. It's
Did you
honestly
go
goddamn
to
gorgeous.
the Van Gogh Museum while you were there?
Went to the Van Gogh Museum. I made the mistake of getting stoned to go to the Anne Frank Museum. And I was like really high.
Did
And
you
I
know
was-
that flashbangs have no effect on Anne Frank?
No, that's Helen Keller.
Ah, there we go. You're welcome.
Fucking
Way to
Ryan.
fuck that joke.
Come on, Ryan. Jesus Christ. So it was like, I'm not kidding. Like, I went there with just Jewish people and incredible friends. And part of our dynamic, because I grew up in New York City, I was actually one of the only non-Jewish people in my school, which is how I was able to play such an accurate portrayal of a Jewish guy in Beer Fest.
Yeah.
But it's like I always enjoy, like with my friends and I, like my group of friends was so eclectic growing up in New York City, we would just rip on each other's ethnicities because I was Hispanic.
I mean,
and
you are
not
Hispanic.
And they weren't, whatever. They'd call me every slur in the book.
Yeah.
I'd slur them, but I'm always making fun of my Jewish friends. And so they were like, you should come to the Anne Frank Museum. And we all went together we were there for a wedding. And so like a bunch of us were there, and I was like, and of course they too, by the way, got high. And
okay. So everybody's stoned, going to see an Anne Frank.
For everybody, it was a bad idea because they it hit them in a heavy way. And for me, I was like, we should not be high right now, and like I wanted to go giggle.
Yeah, right. There are things to see that are funny in that area in Amsterdam too. Because did you? I don't know. I think the Sex Museum's probably been there for fucking ever too. Did you happen to go through the Sex Museum there in Amsterdam while you were there?
I did not.
There are some really funny ass displays in that. They have a bicycle that has, instead of a seat, has a thrusting apparatus as you pedal. Okay. And then they've got the first dildo, which was made out of wood, which is kind of
splinters. Oof.
I was just like, when I saw that in the display, I was like, man, I hope they really had, because it's like thinking like they didn't have sandpaper back then, maybe they took a rock to it, maybe some sandstone or something. Like my brain started going like, how did they make sure that they weren't getting splintered in their internal organs?
I wonder if it was hardwood or softwood.
Well, I mean, it looked.
I like to think about the archaeologists who dug that thing up and were like, what do you think? Do you think this is a dildo? Right? And then they determined that it actually is.
Yeah.
Or
like how
it could be like,
did they take samples?
They took
off
samples.
Of it,
they took samples because wood's porous, so it holds in. It holds in odors and moisture. So yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's like, I know this smell. I smelled this before. It's a few thousand years old.
This is pungent. This smells like punky pine.
Exactly. Yeah.
You guys are gonna think I'm crazy, but I swear I'm picking up the scent of vagina.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure. You know, that's unreal.
So that's what kind of podcast this is, huh, fellas?
Listen, once we start having a few, all bets are
It's
off.
very professional up until the second one goes down, and then once the second one goes down, the professionalism goes down with it.
Yeah, and that's when the real fun starts.
And I mean, I'm even
Yeah, we're
cracked
both
open the Rhino Darts.
darting right now.
Wait, how long have you guys been darting?
Like
we just started.
2 seconds ago.
Oh,
I
okay.
ran
My bourbon glass ran empty, and I didn't want to open it while we were talking, so I opened the dart because it was closer. And
I totally refilled my glass and finished that. So then I
was
went to
busy.
the dart.
Busy. A little shameless plug: the Rock the Beret is going on at Kid Rock's bar.
The Green Beret.
Rock the Green Beret. Sorry, I thought it was Rock the Beret.
No, Green Beret.
No, they actually.
We ain't rocking anybody else's beret.
Whatever.
It ain't green. We ain't rocking.
You're celebrating French people
No.
or Girl Scouts?
Wee.
The Green Beret.
We're gonna have our wee-wees out. But it's at Kid Rock's bar, and that's gonna be over in November.
Yeah, that's
Veterans Day weekend.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we can if it's too far out to try and get Rhino Dart in Kid Rock's bar.
Which weekend is that?
Veterans Day weekend.
It's
What's the date?
I can't look at my phone.
Yeah,
you're on my phone.
We'll get you a date. I'll email it to you. How about that?
You'll get me a date.
I'll give you a date.
I'll get you a date too.
I'll be gone.
He'll be gone, so I'll be your date.
Yeah,
okay?
I'll be deployed in Africa.
I'll be
at
your
that point.
date. Yeah.
Wait, for real?
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Where are you gonna be stationed?
In Niger. That's as far as I can get you ballparked as where I'll be at. But
dude, I hope everyone appreciates that's some special ops shit right there. Like, he'll give me the area of the continent and the area.
Yeah. But no, it'd be good if we can find a way to help you guys also push your product.
I mean, if you want to send some Rhino Dart swag with him, he'll wear it.
I will actually. Yeah, I'll take pictures while I'm in Africa, which would be fucking hilarious because I'm gonna be near the Sahara, so that would be actually pretty funny. I do have a rhino hat that I wear, but it's not a darted hat
with like a horn.
No, it's got that same silhouette
pretty
on my
close
hat.
To the same rhino.
Because we had this discussion. I like rhinos, and
my nickname was Rhino.
His nickname is Rhino, and I have a shirt that says "Save the Chubby Unicorns," which I think is funny because rhinos are chubby unicorns.
Correct.
Which if I were ever to create like a group like you guys did, it would probably be called the Chubby Unicorns. And then
are you going to?
Chubby Unicorns could.
I would totally be a chubby unicorn.
See, yeah, we just don't have I don't think we have the chops to write movies. Like we struggle just to write our own comedy for these podcasts.
Well, we don't even write; we just go.
Yeah, we do just kind of wing it, but which leads me.
You should totally hear how this podcast got started.
Yeah, So, funny story. Like you talked about when you guys were drinking, and a lot of your ideas would come and formulate when you're either under the influence or otherwise. That's kind of how this podcast started. We were drinking. We were talking with his cousin.
Yeah, with Elliot,
and I told him one night prior. I said, when we're drinking, Drunk Dan needs to take notes.
So I said I looked over at Drunk Dan while we're sitting in front of my computer, video chatting my cousin. I'm like, Drunk Dan should take notes.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, Drunk Dan took notes.
And next thing I know, I'm writing all these ideas for a podcast and how we're going to come up with the name and everything else. And I think we were going to call ourselves the Bourbon Boys at first.
Yeah.
Or something. And I was like, no, that sounds too like, what's that chameleon band?
Some shit.
What is it?
The funny part was our third wheel fell off.
Yeah.
So it ended up being just me and Dan.
But we came up with this whole Bourbon Sauced thing, and then now we've got swag. And
You got swag?
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, we do. So if you're on the show, you're supposed to get a hat and T-shirt. Right now, the hats are in for some work, but
we've got coasters for sale.
For the T-shirts, we actually have to have a place to mail you your T-shirt.
Yeah, we can mail you a
offline,
shirt,
you'll have
hat,
to
or whatever.
hit us up with your mailing address, and we'll send you out the T-shirt. So that's the front.
That's a good one.
And then got the bourbon glasses.
Why is there an ice cube in it?
Because sometimes it's neat and sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Right. Then you got the American flag on this side.
Because we're patriots.
Is that a backwards flag?
It's not a backwards flag. It's the way it's supposed to be worn is.
So if you look at the U.S. military uniform.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's always the stars are up this way and the flag's flying whichever direction.
Same with firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but that's the back of it.
But why is that? Because with fire, as I heard with firefighters, it's because to show that they're on their way.
They're running into danger, right?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
The same.
If the flag is ever turned the opposite direction, that means you're essentially in retreat. So if it's on my right shoulder with the stars and stripes forward, like Dan was saying, we're moving forward.
You're moving in.
But if you have it upside down, then you're in distress.
And then this is one of the hats, by the way.
Yeah. We've got 3 different designs for the hats right now.
Oh, yeah, you ain't wearing yours.
I'm not. I decided to go, full 70s porno look.
Dude, it's so sweet. That stash is so sweet.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, so for being a guest, you get a T-shirt.
Yeah, so we'll hook you up with that.
And stickers.
We do have stickers. We got all kinds of swag, like I said.
I love stickers.
Over
here. We're just trying to grow this thing, and we're hoping that
it all takes time.
It does. I mean, we just started in May too, but I think our little niche is that we just like to drink bourbon and bullshit. That's why the big BS in our logo is we just like to bullshit.
It is. Bourbon and bullshit.
Like I can click on every other podcast and it's like, oh, well, this is similar to this one, so you might like this. I click on ours. There is 0 similar podcasts. I'm like, either we are so far out there that we're just not in the ballpark yet, or whatever. But I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm good.
Speaking of podcasts, you and Kevin used to have one rolling, chewing it with Kevin and Steve, or Steve and Kevin, or however. Yeah. Why? What inspired you guys to start chewing it, and then also why did you stop? Because it was pretty funny.
We had a lot of stories we wanted to tell, and we had some good guests on, and we liked doing it. I think we did like 270 episodes, maybe more. We stopped because we got our TV series, and it's been 5 years. Like literally, we haven't had any free time.
That makes sense.
We started, you go in the writer's room, and then you're there for 14 to 17 weeks. And then at the end of that, you're in pre-production, and you're, going hardcore, trying to figure out your season. And then we're shooting for 4 months. And then as soon as that's done, we have to edit, and the editing takes 6 months without a break. And so
that's a lot of time dedicated.
Yeah. I mean, even on the weekends when you're not editing, you're still watching footage. Kevin and I are, because it's, we created the show. And so, but we started doing, cause when COVID hit, we had just wrapped shooting season 2, and we were in post-production, we were editing, and COVID hit, and everything started getting shut down. And that was when Major League, so the networks were, we're on True TV, TBS, TNT. We're in that family. And I was speaking to the president of the network, and they had just lost the NCAA, March Madness. That was done. They lost the NBA playoffs, and they lost Major League Baseball. And I was speaking with the president of the network at that exact moment in time, or the head of the president of production actually first. And he was like, we just got totally fucked, because we were talking about how we were going to do our season, because we were halfway through editing. Like we were editing episode 5, and we were like, there's no way we can we know the release date. There's no way we can episode the back or edit the back half of the episodes because we're not in our editing suite. Like everything is shut down now, and it's like we don't even know how we're going to do things. And so, I was on I was on the phone with the president of production. And I was like, we got this idea for we could do like a talk show. Like we want to do like we got Tacoma FD. We do like an after show like they did with Walking Dead, where they did Talking Dead, and so we would do Tacoma FD. We do Tacoma FD, and he laughed at the idea, and I was like, we could do it, on our cell phones and record it and everything. He's like, okay. 20 minutes later, I was driving, and he called back, and he's like, "Are you serious about that idea?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, I just spoke to the president. You got a green light." And I was like, "What?" And so we did 13, and they bought us like iPhones, and we got a lighting package. We did it out of our homes. And so we did 13 episodes of that would air after the episodes of Tacoma FD. And anyway, the point is that now we're doing Tacoma for season 4. And we were going to do it and release the episodes, right after the episodes of Tacoma aired, because season 4 is airing right now, but then the strike happened, and so we can't promote the show. So we've been banking these episodes.
How does the strike affect you? Because like you alluded to, you can't promote it because of the strike. So how do you get the word out? Is it like doing shit like this with the podcasts?
No, we're not. I mean, I'm not allowed to promote it. I'm not promoting right now. I do have a show called Tacoma FD, which I can say because that's part of my life.
Right.
And it is airing right now. I'm not telling anyone to go see it. It's, it's a little bit lame because what
if we told people to go see it, is that breaking any rules? Because we're not part of the.
If you do
we're not part of the guild,
Yeah, so technically, like I'm on here, but it's like that's
what I'm saying. Like, where's the gray area? I mean, like, there's got to be a loophole, right, where we could promote it because we're not.
I mean, is it kind of like The Stranger, where if it's your hand on your penis and I'm rotating your arm, I'm technically not touching your penis? So,
Ryan, that's actually exactly what it's like.
See, exactly there we go. There we go. Exactly. See, yes.
No, but it's lame. It's like
that's Rudder.
Episode 3 of this season, I got to do I acted in a scene with my older son.
Yeah.
Like he played younger Eddie Panizzi, which is my character. He played me as a young boy, and I played
Panizzi, like
his grandfather.
Spelled like penis eye, or similar to penis eye.
Yeah, penis with an eye. That's a story in and of itself. And then, my sister used to date a guy whose last name was Panizzi in high school. And when we were pitching the TV show, I actually brought the yearbook to the pitches to be like, we're not being immature. This is a real guy's last name. And my sister dated this guy. And so, and the pitch his last name was Penis with an I.
Right. So, yeah. So you had to pitch that to the network that was a real name. Because had it not, they would have been like, like frowned upon. Like, this is too immature. This is too sexual.
But you don't even give them a chance. Yeah, you don't give them a chance to say that. You just say so. And then my character's name is, I play a guy named Eddie Panizzi. His last name is spelled penis with an I at the end, Panizzi. And before you accuse us of being cheeky, this is actually a guy that my sister dated, and so they're like on their heels already.
I don't know. This made me think of an idea of like doing a round table where you have a firefighter. Oh, and this sounds like a joke right here, but you have a firefighter, a police officer, a paramedic, or EMT, whichever, and somebody from each branch of the military, and you're just in a circle around the round table, and you have.
Does the Coast Guard participate in this? Because Coast Guard never gets to participate in any military.
Of course,
we let you were going to say. Then you should have a mom in there too.
Oh, yeah.
Which we figured you could be the mom.
Oh, you know what? Fucking Ryan, you motherfucker. But you finally offended me.
You know, you accuse me of.
I've been on my best behavior.
You accuse me of making the podcast in early, and here you go. You fucking emasculate the man on this thing.
I just made it
What
in
a
later.
cocksucker! You're sucking down some chicken cock.
Chicken fucker.
you rat bastard. Anyway, do you have anything you want to plug or promote while we've got you on? If you can, you know, I know the strike's got you kind of pinned against the wall and you can't really promote anything that you have filmed. But
no, I cannot. I can't promote Tacoma FD, and it's too bad because the season's halfway over. We're seven episodes done and 6 more to go.
Oh man, I can't wait to see that. That's gonna be so
shame,
good.
It's the best episode we've filmed.
And you guys have isn't it #1 ranked comedy right now on TV? Or wasn't it at some point?
They're a basic cable. 4th season, the show's been a huge success. Great ratings. And in fact, this new season, even though we can't advertise it and they are just not advertising it because they don't want to spend any money, we can see the ratings. It's actually doing really well again. And, but it just is what it is, and it's like, am I optimistic about it being picked up for season 5? Not at all. And it's just because of, the state of streaming and their streaming services.
Not to interrupt you, but to speak on streaming, how does that work for you, actors, writers, producers? How does that streaming service work for you guys to get paid? Because like normal cable TV, when it goes into syndication, you guys get paid a percentage of that, right? Or am I wrong? A residual, right?
Yeah, that's what the strike is all about. Is that that's one of the main? That's the main thing. Is that the streamers, when they started, it was like they don't have any money and it's not part of the studio system, and so just take the flat rate and be happy with the work you can get. And people were fine with that. But now streaming has become the actual way it is, and the studios, and it's like, okay, we have to renegotiate because this is the way the system works. The system, the residual system was created, in fact, as I believe, by the studios because they didn't want to pay writers and actors up front. And they said, if the thing does well, then you'll get these residuals based on all the different places we sell it to, all the territories, how much it gets watched. And now the streamers don't want to, they don't want to become a part of that system. And there are a lot of theories as to why they don't.
There's a way for them to see how many people are logged into a fucking account, like Netflix and all these other. They're talking about, you can't have multiple people using your login.
Yeah, like Netflix. I think I'm limited until when I had Netflix, I was limited to 3 logins simultaneously.
They have the metrics to know how many people are actually watching a show and how frequent they're watching a show. Whether you're fucking sleeping or not, it's still streaming. So somebody should be getting paid for their talents. I'm an advocate for you guys for sure. I think, especially like AI, once AI starts becoming more prominent, how is that going to affect you guys? Because now they're going to be able to superimpose somebody.
All of this stuff is what's happening right now with the strike. I mean, that's a SAG. The WJ and the SAG things are different, but from a WJ standpoint, the studios want the ability to have a computer write a script. I'm not really worried about that at all because it's like, a computer's not going to write something as good as well as I can write it. But and also the computer, the AI it's not coming up with things from scratch. It's it's aggregating things. We had a AI just to see what happened. This Chat GPT or whatever the thing is, write an episode of Tacoma FD, and what it wrote was our pilot, but in a vague way. It said, okay, it included Lucy in our show, but it said they get a new female character, a new female firefighter, and she has to prove she's the best, and she engages in a prank war with the guys to prove herself. That's essentially our pilot. But it doesn't say what the prank war is. It's not like you know, like, oh, so the first thing that happens is she does this, and then the guys retaliate with this. It doesn't do that.
So,
Yeah, but it's like, look at Super Troopers, for instance. Like, we wrote, like in that movie, we wrote the scene which is known as the meow scene.
that one's
Meow.
fucking
And that we
hilarious.
came up with that in a hotel room, and we were out of our minds and having
Am I drinking
huge
out of a
laughs.
saucer?
Yeah, and but like we were like, oh, imagine if there was like this clown who could, or a magician who could, you know, change your tongue into a cat tongue. And then, you know, when you had that cat tongue, instead of the word now, all you could say was meow. And like, you know, we just riffed about this and we were laughing about it. And away from Super Troopers, and then we were like, holy shit, that could be a fucking game the Super Troopers play.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that became what the meow scene was. Computer will never be able to write that. A computer
Right.
doesn't have a
It's
sense
not
of humor.
clever enough yet. Yet.
Not ever. No, not
You don't
ever.
think
A computer's not going to be able to like just conjure up a fucking scene like that and be like, people will think this is funny and it's going to be good. You know, like, and whatever they come up with is going to be something that's been done before. That's
Okay.
just the fact.
No, I appreciate that perspective because I'm not a writer, I'm not a producer, I'm not an actor, so I don't know what goes into your craft, and I know that you guys put in an arduous amount of fucking time, and all of us that are consumers, we appreciate that. You guys have a big part in our morale, especially in the military. Like we love everything that you guys do when it comes to comedy or slapstick or um, whatever you guys are doing, and it's hard to see this strike happening because we're all waiting, because a lot of us are still deploying, a lot of us are still all wakes of the wind somewhere away from their family, and they need comedy. Comedy is like the best medicine. Laughter is the best medicine, right? And so with this strike that's going on right now, it sucks because people like yourself that are fucking funny are hamstring, and you can't really do the things that you love to do and provide us that service that we've talked about. And it just kind of sucks. I really hope that these networks kind of wake up and realize like the importance that you folks are to society in the the broader strokes, so to speak.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, like, it's interesting. Like when we first got started, when we made Puddle Cruiser, you know, our dream was to have just our movies released in, just in a theater, because that's what it was kind of all about. And then when we made Super Troopers, because the first one didn't get distribution, theatrical distribution. Same thing with Super Troopers. That was just our dream. You know, we were like, we just want to make people laugh, and then it was bought at the Sundance Film Festival by Fox Searchlight Pictures and released, whatever it was, like, I don't know, it was 1,100 or 1,700 screens, but like, we were like, holy shit, this is fantastic. And then the thing that we never saw coming, that we never considered, was that like all of a sudden we were being contacted by military and first responders who were like, you have no idea how much this means to us. And
Right.
that was when my eyes got opened.
Epic.
Yeah.
Epic.
And all of our movies, and it's like I'd be in restaurants, people would come up, I'd get napkins, things slipped to me like, thank you, like, your movies got us through the wars in the Middle East, and like,
man.
first responders, they're like, we need those laughs.
That's 100% true.
Bad Daddy
Well, you
thing
should.
worked a whole different
You
way
should.
from the Bad Daddy. Yeah.
But by the way, I do have to go be a dad now. I'm on dad duty.
Yes.
I know.
I figured.
Well,
you would
hey,
be.
Steve, we appreciate you coming on the show. You have been nothing but inspirational on this, and we appreciate everything that you have done and will continue to do. If you have time in the future, we would love to have you back on to talk more and discuss. This has been great, and
Yeah, dude.
we're we're gonna try to push your Rhino Dart to everybody we know, like crack dealers. We're just be like, "Yo, you ever had this stuff? This stuff is great. You know, you got to try it. Give it a chance." Is it better than crack?
This is
like the panty dropper of the new millennium. You know what I mean?
Outside of certain beers I drink, this is the only thing in a can that I will drink.
It's delicious.
Yeah. It is delicious.
It's like all natural.
I mean, if you ask Dan, like when we went to the bar and they gave us one, and I was like, this is gonna be some bitch ass shit, and I don't want it. I took a sip, and I'm like, you know what? I'll drink it. I'm good. I'll drink this one. So you have a one in like ever.
Steve,
You're the only ever one I will drink.
You have bourbon still in your glass there, Steve?
No, it's empty now.
You'll need to put a little bit in it.
Pour yourself a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. You know, you can still do your dad duties here in a minute, but
I'll do it.
Yeah, we're just gonna.
Because we gotta
do our end game here. And I'll do our shameless little end to the show.
Shameless little plug.
Yeah. But hey, you know, this has been real. This has been awesome. We've had Steve Lemme on here for over an hour, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule and being a father and being an actor and everything else.
Don't forget flooded a house. I'm displaced right now.
You are very displaced, and it's like we said, it's a shitty situation.
You look totally uncomfortable right now.
Who, me?
No, him.
Well, he's probably uncomfortable because he sees this mustache.
I was being a smart ass because he looks very chilled.
Maybe Ramathorn. I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, might be a little thorny here going on. But
no, you got to wrap about that.
Yeah, that's going to wrap it up for us here at Bourbon Sauced. Thank you guys for listening. If you enjoyed it, please follow us and subscribe. You can check us out on Instagram, www.instagram.com/Bourbon Sauced. And you can see our clues for upcoming episodes like this one that we've had with Mr. Steve Lemme. Hope you guys come back. Until next time, get sauced and
cheers.